Hey guys, Roy from Apotheca Marketing here. Sometimes it's super helpful to see what your competitors are doing, or even what other companies that you might admire are doing from an advertising perspective. Are they, running Google ads? Are they running Meta ads? Are they doing TikTok? What are they doing from an SEO standpoint? So we're going to look at some free tools that you can use to get more insights into your competitors, kind of spy on their ads, or like I said, if you have a particular company that you just admire what they're doing and you want to see how they're building their ad campaigns, what their ads are running, that kind of stuff, we're going to take a look. So some of the most common tools out there to kind of look at, not only in your own websites, but your competitor websites, are some of the tools like Ahrefs or SEMrush or SpyFu. They do often have free access to certain reports. So like SpyFu will let you do limited searches, for instance. We use SpyFu and tools like that just to get like a general idea about what a website might be doing, or what ads are running, what keywords are showing up for, what their reach is, that kind of stuff. The huge caveat there is most of the tools like SEMrush and Ahrefs and that kind of stuff are incredibly inaccurate. So there's oftentimes, if you have access to the actual Google Analytics data for a company or their analytics data, you can compare the SEO traffic, for instance, and the keywords that they're ranking for, and it's not even remotely the same as what's in some of these tools. But like I said, it's kind of directional, and it kind of gives you information that that you won't have access to if you don't know if you don't have access to their GA4 or something like that. Maybe it's a competitor. So let's just take a quick look at SpyFu. We've been looking at this company here. So we're just going to take a quick look at their domain in SpyFu just to show you what it does. So this will show you like the number of organic keywords that they're ranking for. Theoretically, again, it shows in some of their paid campaigns. And again, having compared this data to clients that we know what they're running, it's not always accurate, but it will give you some directional kind of insight. So you can see that they're ranking for theoretically 351 keywords, and then it'll actually show you some of their competition and that kind of stuff, their keyword share, and then the keywords that they're ranking for. And this can be super helpful, right? So even if it gives you just this little sample for the free version here, you can see it only gives you like the top, 5 words. It'll just give you a sense of what they're doing. You can look at the pages, that kind of stuff. So there is some information that you can gather about potential traffic volumes that your competitor might be getting, what words that they're ranking for, and then even the landing pages that they have. So how many of their landing pages are performing well. So again, this can help you in creating competitive content, maybe taking a page out of their playbook and creating content that will rank well in your market. This is also helpful for if you have, if there's companies that aren't in your market, that maybe not a direct competitor, but they're doing a bang up job, you can get some insight into how they're doing that, and you can do that in your market. So SpyFu is a go-to for us just to do a quick little look at potential traffic and stuff like that, but we don't put a lot of stock in the results. All right, so if you think that they are running a Google Ads campaign, you can also look that up. So I will put links to this, all of the examples that we have here in the description. So be sure to check that out. The Google's Ads Transparency Center will actually show you ads that are running. So I just put in that same website, I'm selecting it here. And here's their paid ads currently. And so this is super helpful if you want to see what their ads look like, some of the keywords that they might be using in their calls to action that they might be using, how they're structuring their ads. As you know, most Google ads have multiple variants because you're entering in different headlines and stuff. So this will show you some of those variants. Okay. So that is cool. That's helpful to see how they're doing that. It'll also show their business listings. And so you can see that they're verified. Here's some more ads too. They're running some display ads, so that's interesting. So they're probably doing that as part of a larger campaign. So, but anyway, you can start to see the creative that they're using, the types of campaigns that they're doing. They're doing obviously display. They're encouraging you to call. So this is a great way to go in there and look at the ad copy that they're doing and seeing if it's something that would be helpful for you to run if you're in a similar type of company or market. You can refine this too by the formats, right? And the platforms. So are they, for instance, doing anything on YouTube? Let's see. So they are running on YouTube. And do anything in shopping? Yeah, it runs on shopping too. So they're probably doing kind of a across the board campaign. So this is Google Ads. So if the company isn't running paid search ads, obviously it won't show up in here. Now you can also, other than just doing the website, you can just do it by advertiser name too. So that'll show, and you can choose different countries. Obviously, we're only interested right now in the US. So you can click on these and see the details. Super helpful. So now let's take a look at Meta. Meta has a similar system where you can look at search ads in their library. So in this one, I think we need to go to the category, and then try that again. All right, just a little Facebook bug there, which is really, really common with Facebook. So this used to be available if you went to a company's Facebook page, and we did that yesterday, and just preparing for this video. And it used to have a link to transparency on your Facebook page. And I don't see that anymore. So I don't know if it's just a bug or if Google removed it, but you used to be able to go to individual pages and then click on add transparency and get to the same information. But it looks like you actually have to go to this ads library search now. If you guys are seeing something different, or if that's not what you're seeing on your end, let me know, because I'd be interested. In typical Facebook fashion, they just make changes and don't communicate them or document them, and sometimes they don't work. So anyway, so this shows the active ads that are currently running for this company. And again, it's super useful. You can see what their ad copy looks like. You can see what their creative looks like, so you can actually look at their ads. So you can see the videos, that kind of stuff. This way you're not just, happening to stumble upon this stuff when you're on the platform. You can actively go see what they're doing. So again, you can see how long they're running. You can see what platforms they're running on. And you can see, again, what the impact of them potentially is. So this, this one's been running since July. How old did these go? December of last year. So that way you can see, what they have out in the market, and what their products are, what their calls to action are, and what their creative is. So, okay. So again, it used to be available here. Don't think it is anymore. All right. So TikTok is similar. We have tried to explore some of this with on TikTok a little bit. So you can, again, this is a TikTok Creative Center. You can actually see what ads people are running, what sponsored posts they have. The search on this is not so great. So we've tried looking up specific advertisers over the last, a couple of days, trying to see how easy it is to find advertisers. And I don't know if it's just because the companies we're looking for aren't doing TikTok ads, which could be the case, or the search is just janky. But if you do see an ad by a company and you want to see what other ads they're running, you can go in here and try to, you can see more data about their ads. So you can see, I just put in, I don't know, auto accessories or something, just to see what types of ads are running for auto accessories. We do have clients in that space. And you can see how many likes they have, click through, what their budget range is. It lists high or low. I don't know what the threshold for that is. I don't know how they measure that. And then you can see the individual analytics for the ad itself. So, its performance, how many comments, shares, the click-through rate, keyword insights. That's pretty interesting to see how it's getting served up. And then they even have handy dandy charts for you, so you can see how it relates to the other ads of its type. So clicks, so it's the relative volume that it's seeing, and then it has other suggested ads. So this is obviously helpful, so you can see like, hey, we're in this automotive accessory market, for instance, and what ads are working, what seem to be generating the most click-throughs and that kind of stuff. And you can start to see what creative might work for you on TikTok. So again, super helpful if you can find an advertiser or that is a competitor. That would be great insight too, if the search works better for you than it did for us. But if not, you can still see by ad type, by the industry type, what's working for other advertisers. And they are switching to TikTok 1, which is essentially the same thing. So they are moving the ads library to this. So right now it's, I think, kind of beta, but it's essentially the same kind of interface. And it gives you some of the same data for the ads here. So, all right. And then last but not least is LinkedIn. And so LinkedIn also has an ad library. We just happened to see this ad by this company as we were doing some research for this video. So that's why we plugged it in. LinkedIn is not a huge competitive thing for a lot of types of companies. So for instance, we have clients that are in the pressure washing industry. There's not going to be a lot of advertising for pressure washing on LinkedIn. Although maybe there is, I just haven't seen it. But anyway, so very similar to the other platforms, you can do a keyword search, you can search by the company, and then you can refine the search by the country and that kind of stuff. Again, you can see all the details of what the creative is, what the calls to action are, that kind of stuff. The company that's actually paying for the ad. It doesn't give you as much data about clicks or views or that kind of stuff as some of the other platforms do. But you can see all of the different ads that they're running. And so this company in particular is running a ton of ads on LinkedIn. Let's see what the details here show. Yeah, so you're not just going to get as much metrics in here as the others, but it will help you see their creative, their calls to action, and just how many ads they're running. So to give you a sense of the breadth of their advertising program, if, for instance, these guys were a competitor. So, that way, if you're looking to build ads, you can kind of see what other people are doing, how you might differentiate yourself, if there's good ideas that you might want to borrow from, particularly if they're in a different industry or something, and they're obviously having success, you would assume, with these ads if they're running so many. So, it helps you build out your plans for advertising. So these are some super quick, easy ways that you can get some insight into what your competitors are doing, whether it's paid search, whether it's SEO, whether it's TikTok, LinkedIn, or Meta. You can see what ads they're running and what the creative is, and in some cases, the data around it. So hope this was helpful for you guys. Let me know if you have any questions or what you guys use. If you have other tools that you use to get competitive insights, I'd love to hear about it. Again, we were trying to do free ones here because, you don't necessarily want to have to pay $1,000+ a month for Hrefs or something to get insight into your competitors. So we'll talk to you later, guys, and leave some comments and questions if you have them. Have a good one. Bye.